Well, gracious greetings, thanks to your family and guests. Welcome to another edition of Living Water for Thirsty Thursday. We've been talking about you said I do, so don't live like you don't. We're talking about marriage. And today we want to continue to have this discussion on a subject that intersects every one of our journeys in every part of our life, especially in marriage, and that is communication. And not just whether we have communication, but whether we have healthy communication. Just like this, if I turn this way and I'm talking to you, you can hear me, but I'm not looking at you. Most of us will start to feel some kind of way because there is not eye contact. We want that eye contact. We want to be the center of attention. We want to make sure that we're making that connection. So that's what we want to speak about with communication. The scripture that I want to read today comes from 1 Peter, the 3rd chapter, and it's the 7th verse. And it says, "Likewise, you husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered." Now, this passage here in Peter, that one verse, is obviously connected with the 6 verses prior. And in those 6 verses prior, Peter is talking to the wives. And he's talking about how a wife should carry herself, all the way from her clothes and her hair to how she should conduct herself internally and really being sweet and honoring towards her husband. And it says here in verse 2, while they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear. Verse 3 says, whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair or wearing gold or putting on apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in which it is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of a great price. And all of that is simply saying is, ladies, it's great to have the nice hair and the nice nails and to take care of yourself and, the nice clothing. All of that is great, and you should take care of yourself. But what's really priceless and what's really special, not only to your husband, but also to God, is that meek spirit that is loving and supportive of God and of your husband. And it goes on to say so much to even the point in verse 6 says, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. And that is in no way putting this hierarchical structure in place. It is speaking about respect, and it is speaking about being that cheerleader for your husband. Well, when we talk about communication, obviously, when you come to the conversation with that mindset, it really does help the conversation. But when we read here in verse 7, it says likewise. And so likewise is another way of saying in addition to, or also, or to include, if you would. So not only should women live like that, but also men, and then adding in some more. And so it's adding in some more when it says, likewise, you husbands, dwell with them being the wife, according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife, esteeming the wife, lifting up the wife, respecting the wife. But he says, as unto the weaker vessel, like she is the weaker vessel. Not that she is, but like she is. And as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. And what this is simply saying is, in communication, sometimes the air gets thick, things aren't going well, and you go to your opposite corners. And, it's easy to keep score and say, I initiated us reconciling the last time. I'm not doing it this time. I'm going to wait on them. And when my husband comes, then that's when we'll get it right. If he don't come to me, I ain't coming to him, and vice versa. Well, husbands, like I said, those first 6 verses was talking to the wives. This 7th verse speaks to the husband, and it says, husband, if there is dissension, if there is disharmony, that I want you to treat the wife like she is the weaker vessel, and I want you to go and get that thing right with her, and I want you to initiate it. Like she is the weaker vessel, you are the stronger person. Get this family correct. And so he says that, puts that in there, but then at the end he says that your prayers be not hindered. That's simply saying is, Husbands and wives, if you are in a place where you're not in harmony with one another, which means you're not in harmony with God, God says when you individually go and try to pray with Him, He says, I may not listen to you. I may not listen to you, not because of you and this, but I may not listen to you because you haven't reconciled that relationship with your spouse. You're not communicating in a healthy way with your spouse. And I'm reading this passage just so that we understand how important it is to God for us not just to communicate, but to communicate in a healthy way. Not just the way we adorn the outside, but making sure the inside is good as well. So, what's a good way to do that? I'm going to show you this old simple thing called a communication triangle. And all I did was draw a triangle on a piece of paper. And you can see that the triangle is on there. And then what you do is you put a G on there. And in my case, I would put a T on there for Tony. And I'd put a Y over here for Yvonne. And so we have God on the top. You can see that. That focuses Tony and Yvonne. And all it simply is when you're going to have communication, what we typically do is we hang out right here. Tony has something to say to Yvonne, and he says it to Yvonne. Yvonne has something to say to Tony, and we just go back and forth. And we hang out on this leg of the triangle. And Yvonne can pretty much say whatever she wanted to say to Tony. Tony can pretty much say whatever he wanted to Yvonne, depending on how they feel on a given day. How the equation changes, though, when Tony has something to say to Yvonne, but before he goes straight across, he goes up to God first. I just want to ask a quick question. When would God tell Tony to belittle his wife? When would God tell Tony to cuss his wife out? When would God tell Tony to disrespect his wife, Yvonne? So when he goes to God, God would say, this is when you should say it. This is how you should say it. This is why you should say it. And then I come down and I talk to Yvonne, and the whole tone and the whole conversation is totally different, which also makes it easier and far more palatable for Yvonne to receive it. Yeah, same thing with Yvonne when she wants to say something to Tony. Instead of just coming straight across, she goes up to God first. And when you go up to God first, it just makes all the difference in the world. And so that is something that you want to practice. The last thing that I'll put before you as a tool or a resource is many times we are talking with one another and we don't listen for everything that's being communicated. Typically, what's being communicated is facts and feelings. And what would be very helpful is when someone shares a fact, that you answer with a fact. When someone shares a feeling, that you answer with a feeling. And sometimes things have facts and feelings in them, and you need to share facts and feelings. Someone could say, it's just not the same when, we don't see each other every day and spend time with each other. It just seems like the connection isn't what it needs to be. That's a fact, right? And so the answer that should come back to that is a solution. And yes, so let's make sure we put something in place that always happens, and we put brackets around that, and we safeguard that, and we turn our phones off, or we make sure that our work schedule of what we can control allows or makes room for us to be able to do that. Yeah, that's what you do, fact for fact. But then there's also times where you hear feelings that are also coming out in that, and someone could say, things just aren't the same anymore. When we spend time together, it's just something's missing, and it's just not all there. Well, they don't need to hear a fact with that. What would be helpful is that, yeah, I've noticed the same things. It's just not, things aren't there, and it gets me too, and it makes me kind of go to a certain place. They're trying to, without using the word, say, I'm feeling different. And what's helpful is for that person to know you're feeling similar to the way they feel, or you're at least sympathetic to the way they feel. But if you come right back with a fact when they shared a feeling, it can be conveyed that you're apathetic to what they're feeling. So that's important in having this healthy communication. The communication triangle, men remembering that the responsibility falls on us to get things right when they're a little bit crooked. And then women, it's not all about the outside and all those things. It's how you carry yourself in that meek and quiet spirit. All those things cultivate and make it a little bit easier to have healthy conversation. And so, we've been calling a couple every week this month, and we want to continue that. I'm going to try to reach out to one of our couples and see if they're there, and if we can, we'll make it happen. Stand by. Go.
Hello.
Well, good afternoon, Sister Bragg.
Hi, Pastor.
How are you doing? I just want you to know right off the bat, you are live on YouTube, and everyone knows that you were not prompted about this phone call. It is totally impromptu and putting you on the spot. But yeah, I know, huh? I know.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I know. It's all good. We're with you. I don't know if you've seen the Living Waters for the last couple of weeks, but we've been talking about marriage. And I know you are one of our beloved widows, and you and Brother Bragg were just phenomenal in y'all's relationship with your children, the way you carried yourself here at St. Stephen. And I know bereavement is not easy, and you're still working through that, but we're giving you a call because I know you can help us with marriage. How many years were you and Brother Bragg married?
We were married 40 years the June before he passed.
Wow, 40 years. What a blessing.
Yes.
So God gave y'all some longevity as well. Well, tell me this so that you can help everyone that's listening. Like I said, we're talking about communication today, but what do you feel like you and Brother Bragg in your marriage were able to do well?
Well, it probably wasn't communicating, but I think that we
I'm sure y'all did.
we worked it out. It wasn't always easy. Things that we did well. We raised our kids.
Excellent.
We had two kids in college at the same time, so that was a sacrifice that we made.
Sacrifices. I don't like that word.
Okay, so we paid our bills. We both believed in paying bills, so we had good credit.
Good credit,
and we were able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the sacrifice we made for the kids, all our kids are self-sufficient. I don't have to pay anybody's rent. I don't have to pay anybody's insurance. They don't come to me for loans. So that was the sacrifice we made that's paying off now. Another thing I think that we did, we supported each other's families. He got along well with his in-laws, and I got well with my in-laws.
Mm.
So like when they needed help, we were always agreeable that yes, we should help them. So I think that was a big thing in our marriage. Another thing is you have to pick your battles. You don't have to you don't have to disagree with everything. Sometimes you have to just go along to get along.
Ooh, go along to get along and pick your battles. Woo! Now that's some good stuff there for communication. Pick your battles, go along to get along. We like that one. Thank you.
Oh, and at the end of our marriage, I think what I had started doing, I'm not sure if he did this, but I would think some things, but I wouldn't say them. So I think that helped in our marriage.
Oh my goodness!
You can think it, but you just don't have to. You don't have to say it. You can think it.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Man, that is huge. That one we almost need to have said in slow motion. I mean that you can think it, but you don't have to say it. Yeah, that will definitely save so many unpleasant conversations.
Yeah.
Man, that is huge, Sister Bragg.
I guess that should end our
You say that's all I got. That's all I got. Hey, we definitely appreciate it, ma'am, and I thank you for you know taking the call first of all, and not hanging up when you said you were live on YouTube. But not only that, giving quality answers that we can utilize, that we know we need to pick our battles, which is huge. And just because things come into our mind, we don't have to say them. Pay our bills, raise our children well, take care of one another's families. That is all really good stuff and words to live by in our marriages. Thank you, Sister Bragg. It is much appreciated.
You're welcome, Pastor.
And we'll keep the prayers going for you as you continue this journey of that bereavement, that God will give you comfort, peace, and strength.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you
Thank you
soon.
so much.
Thank you. God bless. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
And so there we have it, another strong example of what it's all about to have this healthy communication and what we need to pour in to make things happen. She hit sacrifice, which was huge. She hit taking care of their kids and raising them so that when they get older, they don't come back and are looking and needing things from you, which is huge as well because you've modeled it as a couple before them. And then she says, listen, you got to pick your battles, wave the white flag if you need to, kind of surrender before the battle even starts. But she closed out with the strong one. Everything that comes in your head that you think, we definitely do not need to say. Man, that's a big one right there. Well, tune in next week as we continue on this journey. We're going to also talk about the positions, if you would, in a marriage, amongst other things. Well, continue to make God proud in all you say, think, and do, especially when you said, I do.